I don't know who needs to hear this. It's been a while since I did an off-the-cuff video blog, but I've been reflecting a lot on the old idea of doism that I used to talk a lot about. And now that I'm about 15 years into my career, I can look back on those early days where I was talking about doism with a little more perspective. And I feel like I've had some insights that might be helpful to people who are early in a project or who have big ambitions or big ideas and they want to realize them. There's this sort of mystery of, you know, where you have a vague idea, I want to be there, I am here, none of those things are happening, I have to build it all. How does that happen? So do-ism. I used to talk about do-ism. This was like, I'm 22 years old. I just won the Guitar Center drum off. I'm at Berklee College of Music. I was, traveling the world. I was in a bunch of bands. I was just trying to do stuff. And this goes back, so pre-Guitar Center drum off, arriving at Berklee, I feel like the doist mentality was really important. This aggressive doing. It's saying yes to everything. And it's going further, saying yes and. So, hey, do you want to record? I'm looking for a drummer to record on my studio session for this project at school. Yes, I'd love to do it. And if you guys put together a live show, I'd love to be a part of it. Or yes, and what about, like, does she have any other songs? We could actually do like 3 songs. She could put a little EP out. Yes, and just so you know, I love your music. And no matter what you're doing, like, I hope you keep me in mind, right? This is the yes and effect. You're getting a band together. Your guitarist is writing some songs. This was like the first project I got involved with at Berklee. I'm writing some songs. Do you want to write some drum parts to them? Yes. And I actually know a bass player that we're cool with who might want to play. Yes. And I'm going to write a few other drum ideas, and I'll give them to you, and we'll trade ideas, and then we can go. Yes. And as soon as we have 4 songs. I know, like, Matt down the hall knows how to use recording gear. Let's do that. Yes, and maybe we could book a show, We don't have enough music for it, but if we have a show in 3 months, we're going to have a really good reason to write a lot of music. So this yes anding is really big. A couple of years later when I was when I was traveling a lot for various reasons, right? I called these like grassroots guerrilla drum clinics. I would just be like, I'm coming to Europe. If anyone wants to do anything, let me know. If it's a private lesson, whether you have money, you don't have money, I want to try to make it work because I want to travel and ideally just come back with this not less money than when I left. So people would say, hey, it's just me in Argentina. I know that's not in Europe. And I'm thinking of a real example. It's just me in Argentina. I would love to do a private lesson. Right? So I can't fly to Argentina to do one lesson. The math won't work out. But I say, yes, and do you know other drummers who might be interested? Yes, and if you get 8 people together in a room, we can do a drum camp. Everyone chips in a little. And if I'm already there, I'll talk to the sponsors about blah, 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 blah. You can see how it snowballs, and suddenly it makes sense. Maybe it's a wash. Maybe I actually go home with a few bucks. Doesn't really matter at that point in my life. I was just really excited to travel. So this first phrase of aggressive doing is not what the benefit is not what you expect. And this is the first big takeaway. You can't have the master plan worked out in advance. And the things that you think that you are going to learn aren't necessarily the things you're going to learn. You're going to accomplish other things other than what you set out to accomplish. And what I mean by this is, in my 3 years in Boston, a good example is I was probably in 12 bands. I did countless sessions, played with a bunch of people that were students there. Everyone's sort of just hungry to do whatever. None of those things exist anymore. None of them. But that doesn't matter. The projects were never the point, and I did not understand that at the time. I was just getting lucky here. The skills built doing the projects were the real takeaways that I built the rest of my career on. So being in a band is important to be good at being in the band. So being a good drummer, contributing to composition, whatever that means. But the adjacent skills, I would argue, are more valuable. Because if you've been playing drums your whole life, you're probably good at the drums. Like, that's actually the part that's the safest skill, right? You're not going to lose that. But what about learning how booking shows works. Right? What does a booking agent do? What does a manager do? Way before you're there, how do you book your own shows? What are the venues in town? How to do research? How to just be on the scene and hang and go sort of like see bands and introduce yourself and let them and be around and make friends and let them know that you want to play with them. You'll open for them. Sort of like strategizing of getting just your first moment of your foot in the door. That's a skill that you develop. And that's sort of like a whole conglomeration of skills that are like your interpersonal skills and just paying attention to what's going on and a million different things. In my life, I'm a like fairly competent graphic designer now. I'm not a creative one, but I design my own website. I do all the design work for running my business. I never set out to be a graphic designer. This was another adjacent skill that just had to happen, right? That happened by accident. We want to play shows. We need posters. Someone's got to make them. I'll try my best. Look at some tutorials. Totally rip off the designs from the tutorials. Change the names. Boom. Eventually you start to learn how to use the tools. Other skills are like just organizing people. I don't know about other industries. I have found that in the art world, being organized, not always everyone's strength. So if you're the type of person who's kind of good at just like basic organization, keeping things on the calendar, getting people scheduled to get to a rehearsal, that's actually a super important skill. That is like, I feel like that's like 25% of what you need to succeed in the art world, in the music world at least. That's another skill set. So the point I'm trying to make is, you're doing the aggressive doing, and the takeaway from phase one, aggressive doing, isn't actually probably going to be the things that you do. It's going to be the skills that you build, and the relationships that you make, the friends that you make, the places that you go. So if I want to go to Europe, now I have this pretty expansive network of people to get in touch with again, to make it to sort of take it to the next level. And now where I'm at is my career is a sort of different place. And this is what I couldn't have known or foreseen during phase one, aggressive doing. This is phase two of doism, which is the refining process. So in phase one, you are building the skills, you're building the network, you are, more importantly, getting to know what you like and what you don't like doing. There are a lot of things that I have tried at various levels, sometimes to a pretty high level, spent a lot of time doing it and developing it, to learn ultimately that I don't want to do that. I either don't like doing it ultimately once I get into it, or I'm bad at it, right? I'm just like not cut out for composing, right? Or another example is get into sort of like production and stuff and then be like, wow, I hate sitting at my computer all day. I don't want a job that I have to do that. Okay, cool. I put a lot of time into this, but now I can cross it off the list. And so much of the value, the utility of the aggressive doing is crossing things off and being like, that's definitely not it. I thought that was it. That's not it. And then other things you're like, I can work with this, right? It doesn't have, it's not going to be like perfectly rewarding all the time, but I can work with this. This is tolerable and exciting enough. Let's go. So now I'm in the next phase where I've found, I'm going to switch to this because my neighbor is starting to drum. I've found the things that I like doing and that I'm good at, and I've refined them. And I'm sort of, as you move through your 20s, you start to come out the other side of that, having become a specialist sort of by accident, if you've been doing. So I'm really good at certain things now. I looked around and I was 27 and I was looking at my friends like, wow, people are kind of like really quite special with what they do now. It's taken, most of our decade of our 20s to do, fail, refine, and let this sort of personal style or skill set emerge that is actually unique and has something to contribute. And now I know what I'm good at, and I can enter phase two of doism, which is the refining process. Do better. Go deeper. Don't do more. At this moment in my career, I don't want more. I don't want new ideas. I'm kind of a no man, right? I'm building I have been for years, right? This educational website, this community that is growing, and I'm so excited about it. I'm perfectly aligned with what I am best at doing and what I have the most fun doing. It aligns with the way I want to live my life, with how much I want to be out of town and not out of town. And all these things. And I'm finally, right, after many, 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 many years of experimenting, I'm feeling super aligned. And now I just want time to do it better and go deeper, right? So for some people, this is their artistry, right? For some people, this is being a touring musician. I have some friends in the city who are like, I'm a Broadway cat, and I finally found my way there, and I want Broadway gigs forever until I have the chair. Whatever it might be, or a producer, or a manager, or a designer, or you switch gears and you actually discover that through doing music, you actually like this adjacent career that you're super aligned with, and that's very exciting. So anyways, phase 2 is the refining process where you dig down deeper. Maybe there's a third phase. I don't know what it is. I'm not quite there yet. But I just wanted to reflect a little bit on this because the way that I'd always framed it as a kid was do more, just go do, and things will happen. And that is so important. But now I see that it's important for reasons you can't foresee in advance. The skills you'll build, the people you'll meet, the things you'll learn about yourself and the world, you can't foresee until you come out the other side, and then you have a skill set upon which you can build. And then as you move forward through that into phase 2, you start to slowly emerge where you're like, I know what I want to do. Let's dig deeper. Let's refine. Let's do it better. And I can go from there. But that whole expansion, the casting of the broad net, that was the essential component in order to catch what's going to be the long-term through line, the most important stuff that you keep doing. So anyways, gang, thanks for listening. Hope you're having a great day. Wherever you're at in your journey, I encourage you with all my support to pursue and to not be afraid. And remember, actually, to be afraid. It's okay to be afraid. Just remember that everyone else is afraid too. Another thing in my life, the do-ism, just be the person that's like, I'm just going to take the first step. Maybe people are on board. I've always been that guy, even when I'm scared, and I'm always amazed. And now I just have faith in this. I'm not nervous about those things anymore because I know now from experience, other people want to do cool stuff. And a lot of times all it takes is someone to organize the rehearsal, start the conversation, just look ahead and say, hey, 3 months from now, where are we playing the next gig, right? That little engine, it's always pushing things forward subtly, a little bit at a time. That can be all it takes. So good luck out there. Happy doing, whether you're in phase 1, aggressive doing, phase 2, refining. I hope you're having a great time with it. And thanks for listening. We'll talk soon.